Okay, so what we're going to create is the short sleeve puff sleeve. You don't have to lower the sleeve head to eliminate the ease if you don't want to. It's like, it gives different looks. Obviously that ease would just then be incorporated as more gathering, but if you wanted to, because you felt that it was too, you didn't want as much puff going up and over the sleeve, then you can, it's not a problem. So I'll quickly just go over how we eliminate, so you've got that for reference. So what we've just been working on is the cap sleeve, and then we reduced, don't forget to put all your grain lines on, and we pivoted, we lowered that about 2 centimetres to eliminate the ease, just by pivoting, swinging that round down about 2 centimetres, doing it on the other side, and making sure that we didn't have a pokey, pointy sleeve head and our notches. So that eliminated the ease. So you can work with either of these, because obviously you can see that this overarm, so how much, just shut the door for me, so how much overarm it goes over when you've got your sleeve. If you've got this gathering, this sleeve head puff here on your short sleeve, then that length going up and over, if you didn't want too much length, then you can take that out and slash it open, or you can just leave it as it is and experiment. Or you might want even more dramatic, so it really comes up and over, in which case you might slash that and open the sleeve head up as well as going across. So it's just different design decisions. So that's the straight grain. So it is just a case of, I want a short sleeve, but I want one with puff. What length do I want my overarm to be? How am I going to finish it at the hem? Obviously, if you wanted it gathered at the hem and you could put a hem band in, then we can just slash it and open it up all the way. So that's one decision. So if you had a band on the sleeve there, and then this was gathered at the sleeve head and the hem, then instead of doing what I'm about to demonstrate, you would just slash it evenly and open that up so you had equal distances to add width in all of your pattern pieces, rather than what I'm going to do is just a little cap sleeve where it's just got a little bit of gathering on the arm, on the shoulder. Obviously it depends on your fabrics as well, whether you've got how much it gathers in. You do an experiment, sort of sew 10 centimetres and then see whether you want double, 1.5 times double, or if you were using a chiffon or something, a really dramatic sleeve head, you could maybe go up to 3 times, but you need to know how much can that gather up. A heavier fabric won't be able to gather up as much as a lighter fabric, so you need to be aware of that when you're slashing it open. So with the little cap sleeve, I actually did a right angle from here just to give me a fitted little armhole, and then I didn't want a deep, but again you can just use it and have it slightly lower. It's all design decisions. Just make sure that they're the same size at the underarm, and then you'll curve that round using your pattern master. And obviously you're not going to be able to double turn the deep hem, so you might need to put a facing on it. So that's what I'd like for this sample. I'd like this to have a hem facing, and then we're going to slash it. So we're going to come down here on your sleeve block. You've got your other marks, so you can use your tracing wheel to put those points in, because they give you that nice guide of where you can then start slashing it open. You might want to go more and slash it in between, because when we open these up, what you're going to find, I haven't got my paper scissors, just use those. What you're going to find when you start slashing it open is it's going to really change that over sleeve head shape. Right. So we want to make sure I'm going to have that curved hem, put it on the stand on a mannequin, have a look on a body to see what it's going to look like, because you can't tell just on flat paper. Start, you know, holding and testing. So I'm just going to slash them down to the hem. And then depending on your experiments, how much, remember your straight grain, how much you can gather your fabric, your chosen fabric, you know, depends how much you can open these, start opening these up. Obviously that's going to be equal either side. You know, if it's going to be too lumpy bumpy, you can do a little bit less here. It's all, you know, you might not want any. You might just want all the gathering just on the sleeve head, or do you want it all the way around the armhole? So I'd probably tend to open that about half the amount, a little bit there, sort of just where the notches are, because it's still in the sleeve head, and then open it evenly. Obviously measure them all. Okay, and then when you come here, you can see this step. If I take that there, you've got this step, so you're not going to join it flat like that. We don't have lumpy, it's not pleating. If you were putting these in as pleats, you'd actually pleat the paper and then use the tracing wheel to work out the pleats, but we're having these as gathers. So I want to keep that sleeve width because it's got to go around the arm, so this is really important at the bottom, so I'm not going to lose that. So you are going to end up with it blending out, and you're going to gain and have quite a strange shape. It depends which line I'm using, whether I'm doing the lower one or the upper one. So this was where I took the sleeve head out, and that's where I kept it in. So don't get confused with your lines. So if I go with the lower one, and you can see that line there, you blend it, it's going to look quite wide, that pattern, and keep it a nice curve. And here I'm going to end up coming from here, it's sort of going up and over. Keep it so it's a nice smooth line, and that shoulder notch is really important, and these balance notches are really important. Do it on the original sleeve, the armhole. That's flat sewing then under the arm, so where you've got it on your underarm, your side seam, that's flat. You don't really want gathering underneath against your body, it'd be a bit uncomfortable. You don't need that for a puff sleeve. All of the easing and gathering is going to be on the top bit as you're sewing it in. So that's your armhole, and then you're sewing it in. This is all going to be gathered, so you just run your 2 rows of stitching and then trace it off, and then you need to consider the hem, how you're going to hem it. So I would suggest that you just make a hem facing, so that's just a direct trace of the bottom, and you can see it's quite exaggerated. Obviously smooth those off. Now how deep to make your facing, well you're dictated by that, how deep your side seam is at the underarm. You can't go any higher, because otherwise then that's going to be in the armhole and your arm's there. So basically you're restricted. So normally a facing would be about, a finished facing would be 4 centimetres, which is a nice depth. But if you've only got 2 centimetre and then, you know, you're restricted, that's what it is. Obviously then add your seam allowance, but your finished facing may only be 2 centimetres. So then you just mark equal distances all the way round. Don't forget your straight grain, and then you've got a pattern piece which is your hem facing. Obviously you add, this is net, so no seam allowances, remember. So these are your net pattern pieces which you can then add your seam allowances to for you to make. That's your facing, and it is going to be different. So although it's cut 1 pair, I would put a notch on that hem, so you know that this is the back, because so they need to have those notches there, so that's the back hem, because it's a slightly different curve, it's a slightly different shapelet, so you don't want to be distorting it and ending up with lumps. So although it is cut 1 pair and you can add interfacing if that and you want, you need to remember those notches, and then that's your sleeve pattern with the facing, and that will give you a nice look puff sleeve, little cap sleeve with gathering at the top and a small underarm seam.